What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy with Trading Decoded. It is March 12th, 2024, 4:05 in the afternoon, and the market is closed. What an epic day today. First and foremost, let me give a shout out to our community. Today we had the best red-green ratio on the poll that we've had since Trading Decoded started. You guys absolutely crushed it today. Great job. More importantly, we found so many excellent, comfortable trade opportunities today that, I mean, it was like a holy grail day. But let's go ahead and talk about the charts and what we saw and why we did what we did. Here's our poll as of 4 o'clock this afternoon: 29 red, 255 green. That is an outstanding win-loss ratio. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm super proud of you guys. Now, with that said, we charted our pre-market. I started my charting after the 8:30 reports because, you know, CPI, so the market's going to do crazy things. So when you see my pre-market lines, they're up here because it was based on this price action here. All the targets came from support and resistance to the upside, downside. We had yesterday's high of day here, and so on and so forth. You guys know the routine. As we were moving up, I was glad to see us find resistance here and move back down. I was also glad to see a lower high here because I wasn't interested in playing calls above this blue line today. And I'll explain more about what I was really interested in doing and hoping for. So as we're trending down, I am looking for that trend to continue down, hoping to get a gap fill. Now, at 9:25, as we do every morning, we start the call put scenario. The call put scenario was pretty simple. I said, if you're going to play calls aggressively, you'd want to do it if we break 513.39, but you've got resistances to your left that you have to know exist that could stop that move from continuing up. Okay? And that's okay. But if we open above that line, it's not a valid trade anymore. So I was then asked, Jimmy, what would be your conservative call entry? And I said, conservatively, you'd want to wait for 514.11, the next line up. But I'm not excited about that either, because when I look left over there, I see a whole bunch of wicks on the tops of these candles that make me feel like I'd be walking into a room full of sellers who want to beat up any buyers who decide that they want to walk through there. Okay, I don't want no part of that. So calls for me at the morning were off the table for that reason. If it ran up, I just wouldn't have taken an opening trade. However, what I was also telling people here at 9:25 was what I'd prefer to see is this line here, our pre-market low, hold as resistance and then run down and fill the gap. So I wanted to play puts. I would have felt way comfortable playing puts, not comfortable playing calls. So this decision was easy for me. However, just because I want puts to happen doesn't mean puts are going to happen. Okay? All I had to do was wait for the reason to get into those puts. Our put line was 513.39. Again, we draw these things before the market opens. What we wanted to see while we were down here is a pullback to that line with the move back down. That's all. First candle out of the gate. Okay, first candle out of the gate. Let's go back and check NVIDIA. Why did I not get in on the very first candle? NVIDIA was looking good. Qs were not. Q's green candle and ADD was also, it was red, but it had a wick on the bottom. Okay. That wasn't a good setup for me. Second candle comes in. Q's are coming off of a green candle with a wick on top, indicating sellers are there. We're struggling to move higher on the Q's. NVIDIA also printed a big fat red candle at open with a big wick on its second candle, indicating selling pressure up above. I told everybody, guys, I know that this seems risky. It is risky because it's an opening trade and we're sitting on support, but I like what I see. I'm going to be buying my puts here. I believed that the Qs were going to struggle to move higher and therefore move down instead. Same thing with NVIDIA. And then, as luck would have it, not 2 minutes after that candle, ADD started to drop like a rock, which made this trade extremely comfortable. Okay, once everything got into the same direction at the same time, as indicated by this red arrow right here, which happens when it's happening, that's my indicator. And we were breaching the put line anyway. So we had a tremendous amount of people have a one and done trade today. I played for the gap fill. I stayed in this trade all the way down to the pink line, and I immediately got out of the trade. That ended up being a 93.9%, a 94% win. That was the one and only trade I took for the day. Now, with that said, I left money on the table, and that's okay, because my initial plan was to play the gap. Once I got there, if I decide not to take profits, I'm breaking my trade plan, and then all bets are off. It becomes an emotional trade, which I don't do well with an emotional trade, because if it would have held support there and I tried to stay in and it bounced up, I would have taken an L on that trade, because I know me. I know that I would have been so irritated that I didn't take profits where I originally planned to. And as a result, I would hold on to that trade until it gave me the opportunity to make back the profit that I once had. If you don't know that about yourself, you probably make that mistake over and over and over again, thinking that magically that's going to stop happening to you. It's not going to stop happening to you until you realize that you're doing it in the first place. Trade your plan. You will feel more comfortable all the way around. So that was my trade, and it was a beautiful trade. And that was a lot of people's trades today, and that was their only trade. I was being begged to put up the red-green pole at this time after that, and I was so happy to see it. Well, anyway, we get through that line of support. We close below the next line. We're looking for it to run down to the next support. That's exactly what it did. Ironically, our third target low ended up being the low of day. It was only off by a penny. I need to sharpen up my line drawing skills, but it worked a charm. Now, everybody was all excited during this move to the upside. I wouldn't have played calls anyway here. It's not that you couldn't have done it, but we did have people asking, should they buy the pullback to yesterday's high of day? And I said, if we're only paying attention to SPY, yes, I could see the argument to buy puts here, hoping for the move to come back down to this line. However, as we do every day, or at least I do, before I jump into something like that, as we're moving close to that line, I bounce over to the Qs. And I go to my Qs chart. And I say, okay, here we are at 952. I said, guys, I know you're wanting to buy a pullback, but Qs still have a decent ways to go before they hit their line of resistance that I would trust. That's going to push SPY through that pink line. If it makes it there, I wouldn't buy puts here. And hopefully, I know a lot of people listen, but I wish everybody would. It blew through that line and continued up. Okay. Now, as we get closer up here, obviously the next question is, Jimmy, would you buy puts when we get up there? And the answer to me, after seeing this move to the upside and this move to the upside, was no, I wouldn't buy puts here. That's just me. That's a very strong move up. And it's just not something I'm interested in. Well, where would you buy puts if you were going to do it? I said 2 criteria, just like we always talk about. Number 1, I want to see SPY above 513.59 right here. We managed to get above that at 10:06, but that's not good enough. I also wanted to see Qs because they had just broken above this double top, and I wanted to see them clear of their high at pre-market high. I said I want to see Qs above 441.51. And then I'd buy calls. Okay. So at 10:30 in the morning, SPY had already met its criteria. 10:30 in the morning. I'm sorry, 10:23. We're looking at a different resistance. Right here. I wanted to see Qs above this double top. That's what it was. Okay. And that happened at 10:23. So that's when I said, guys, both criteria are ready to go. If you're trading line to line on SPY, you could have got in because we closed above resistance. In an uptrend, you're looking for the next resistance. That's fine. Or you could be patient and wait for more than just one reason to take that trade, which was Qs helping add to your position. So we got into the calls here. Now, I didn't, but a lot of people did. And we wrote it up. A lot of people, when we got to this line, I always tell people, guys, we made a nice move. If you want to take profits, that's fine. If you want to stay in it, move your stop losses up. Trail your win. You could have made a whole bunch of money. Okay. Now, while we were coming up to this candle, you'll see 2 exit points on here. Why? Well, the first one is because Qs had just made it at that moment to its resistance that we were aiming for, which was, of course, at 1030. Okay. And on top of that, it made it to the next target high on SPY. So there's an exit there. Now, Jimmy, when can we buy calls? Well, if you're being aggressive, you might want to wait for a candle close at least above 515.49 on SPY. We need to hold support at 515.19. That's your stop loss if you're taking calls here, and we want to see Qs move up to their next line of resistance. That's it. We're trading the Qs using SPY as the tool. So at 1030, we get into calls, or I'm sorry, 1036, we get into calls. Because it's Qs are holding on to support. They had already broken through it. SPY was above it. We knew where our stop loss was. It's an uptrend. We're looking for the next target high. Now this exit here was coming at 1049 because Qs were touching their next resistance. And if you wanted to hold on, the next one here, which at the time was the high of day, was because Qs hit their next resistance. All right. Pull back, and then we're coming back down. Now everybody's like wanting to buy a pullback, which is great. I said, well, at this point, if we pull back to support, it is an uptrend. You want to be looking for calls. However, we got to see what the Qs are doing by the time we get down there. Okay, so at 1107, Qs were pulling back, and we talked about the Qs finding support right here. They had already broken this one. They had broken this one. The next one down was here. So if Qs are on a support during an uptrend, while SPY is on a support during an uptrend, that's a good enough reason to take a trade. But we added another layer of confidence to that by saying, at least wait for a breach of this down play, because I was trying to teach people what a flag play is. You're buying off of support, and you're waiting for the pullback trend to be at least, breached. So this was your entry candle, and then you have a profit target here because of resistance here, or here because, well, it's the high of day line. So another trade opportunity there. Now, these moves are decent size, okay, because I have the chart pretty squished together. So if you got in here even semi-aggressively at 515.95 and you played it to 516.50, that's a 55 cent move. That pays. All right. Now, on the pullback, there, of course, people are asking, Jimmy, where would you buy calls and where would you wait for it to pull back to? I said, well, we'd want to find support, which is here. It's the first real, here would be the first one, but the problem is if that holds, playing it up to that line is not enough of a move. So we were looking for at least a move down to this double bottom. Okay. Now, I still wasn't interested there because the Qs didn't look good yet. And we're coming off a lower high now. So at this point, I tell everybody, I don't think I'd buy this pullback because we're putting in lower highs. Now, we also had 516 as a whole number, right? So whole numbers tend to act as support resistance as well, which is what you had here, 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 and here. So I wasn't interested in buying puts. It's a counter trend trade. It's a quick move. However, when we come back to this candle, we had just talked about we're still putting in lower highs, okay? We're trying to trend down, lower highs, lower lows. That is a downtrend. Wait for the Qs. Wait for the Qs to break support. Well, so SPY broke support here, right? And Qs at 1140 had finally broken a support here, right here, this double bottom. Again, it's a quick trade. It's a counter trend trade. We always take our counter trend trades to the very next line down, which would have been right here. And that's that. Now, you could have held on to this and wrote it down. You don't know that the market's going to get weak and start selling off until it shows us after the fact, right? So quick, aggressive counter trend trade. There you go. Now, here, I was just getting ready to leave for lunch, and one of our members said, hey, Jimmy, what do you think about puts at 5:15.19? So right around this area. I said, well, let's take a look at it. We were at resistance here on SPY, was old support turned resistance, but more importantly, Qs were right up against a line of resistance while in a downtrend as well. Okay, so 5:28 was right here. Very simple rules, guys. As long as Qs are trending down, they're up against resistance, coincided with a resistance on SPY, let's go for it. We buy our puts here. Our stop loss is a candle close above 5:15.29. Our profit target is going to be based on the Qs. Okay, and you'll see. You got in, it took a second, but ultimately dropped down. We were looking for 5:14.37, which happened to be when the Qs made it to this support line. No, I'm not. I'm lying. They made it to this support. This is the one we were looking at first. Okay, right here. This is when we hit that line, 12:37. 12:38 was the next one down. Okay, so 12:37, we touched it here. It's trying to hold support. But again, as long as we're below that trend line, Qs are still trending down. Maybe there's potential room. So if you want to hold on, I'll let you know when we hit 440.04. SPY drops. 440.04 hits right here at this time. Because I know you're looking at this saying, Jimmy, those are some pretty odd exit points. They're based on the Qs. Has nothing to do with SPY. This entry was taken because the Qs were at resistance. This profit was taken because Qs were on support, and this profit was taken because Qs were on support. What you don't know is which one of those supports is going to hold and which one's not. So the question is, do you take what's guaranteed at the time? Do you hold for more? That's always going to be a question, right? I'll tell you this, though, if you're going to hold for more, all I can suggest is that you move your stop loss down so that at the very least, you're at break even or a slight profit if it does hold and it bounces up to the upside, much like it did here, okay? Now, at this point, I had left for lunch. So I wasn't back until, I don't know, right around 1:45. We're up against resistance here. Breaking through. Okay. Now, again, same thing. Jimmy, when would you buy calls? And I always tell everybody every day, guys, it's going to depend on more than just SPY. So SPY had just broken above this double top on this candle. But I would be willing to bet at 203, Qs were doing something special as well. So we broke the downtrend on the Qs while I was at lunch. And at 203, yes, this was the resistance line we were trying to get through on the Qs. If we get above, a candle close above 441.97, that would be an entry as long as SPY is not at a resistance. SPY cleared resistance, Qs cleared resistance, we entered, and we're looking for an exit. Well, that exit's either going to be next SPY line up, which would have been a hell of a trade, or Qs reaching resistance, which it did. And this candle coincides with this one right here. Okay? I don't know if it's going to continue to go up or not. I just know that if you got in when you were supposed to and you got out where you were supposed to, you made money. That's all I know. That's all that matters to me. That was the last trade of the day that we talked about, guys. You had a nice rejection off of this, coming all the way back down to support. And then you got up here and just kind of hung around on our futures line and traded. You know, there's nothing to trade here this late in the day. It's tough. It's tough. But with that said, it was a fantastic day for a whole bunch of people. And I'm extremely proud of you guys. I'm super happy for you. I'm glad you had a good day. I know not everybody had a good day, and that's okay. But I would ask you this. If for those of you who had losing trades today, or losing day, right? Red day. My question is this. Number one, was it red because at one point you were green and just not green enough and turned it red? Or do you have a put bias at a time where you can't imagine why the market, especially after the CPI numbers coming in hot, is moving up? It's a very dangerous, precarious place to be. I know this because I spent a good portion of 2022 with a put bias, and it destroyed my ability to trade comfortably. If you find yourself saying it can't go higher when it's clearly going higher, you need to close your platform down and walk away, because you will do nothing but play every new high of day short, and it's going to end up costing you a lot of money in the long run. All right. With that, we're going to wrap it up. Hope you guys found some useful information in this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. If you'd like to join our Discord community, well, there's a link down below. We'd love to have you. First week's completely free. And if you like what you get for free, consider becoming a paying member so you can maintain and enjoy those perks and more by being a paying member. We are also going to be doing our discount on our annual membership at the end of this month. So if you're interested in joining, maybe you want to wait till the end of this month to take advantage of the fact that it makes the monthly rate 50% less than what it normally is. Okay. And that's pretty much it. So hope you all had a fantastic day today. And till tomorrow, I love you guys. See you.